Imagine just a second. You are 12 years old, standing in a crowded marketplace with a basket full of goods on your head. The sun is scorching your back, and the temperature is around 30 degrees. The smell of fresh produce and the noise of cars and people shouting, all calling for attention to sell. You are standing there knowing that you cannot go home until every single item in your basket is sold out. How will you sell this? Good morning, everyone. My name is Konate, and from the age of 10 years old, I had to learn how to sell. Not because I wanted, but because the survival of my family depended on it. In my young age, I have learned something that most people never figure out about sales. Selling is not about the product. Selling is about people, emotion, and trust. And today, I would like to share with you not only how to sell anything to anyone, but how selling is the core of almost every single thing we do in our life. I grew up in a small country called Ivory Coast, precisely in a small town called Azagé. Growing up, the only thing I knew how to do was selling, because my dad was a driver, and he was on the way most often driving for work. And my mother, a strong, beautiful, tall African queen, has a shop in the market where I will spend my entire days learning, watching, and eventually selling. By the age of 11 years old, I was going in door-to-doors in nearby villages, selling my mom goods, making sure we have enough money to pay for my school fees and the one of my brothers. Most often during the weekend, I was traveling with her to the capital city to bargain with suppliers so that we have the best prices for our customers. But you see, despite growing up in the family surrounded by salespeople, I was sure of one thing. I never wanted to become a salesperson. Never. Why? Because I haven't realized that time that I was learning a skill that could have changed my life. The truth is, dear friend, no matter which profession you are going to choose, you have to learn how to sell. You're wondering why? Because life is all about persuading, and persuading is all about selling. You see, research has shown that every single form of interaction we have every single day is a form of selling. And the better you are at it, the more successful you can be. And the things that many sales experts never tell people is that selling is not about pushing ideas or product onto people. It's simply about people, emotion, and trust. That is all you need to know. And now that you know this, I think we can all go home. Or maybe not. And now that you know this, how can you implement it in your daily life? I became a professional public speaker at the age of 22. Over 4 years, I have spent my time and got the privilege of talking to more than 20,000 people across 2 different continents. My job has been to persuade them, to inspire them, and to sell them my ideas. And to do that, I created a framework called the 5 Ps of storytelling. The reason why I created the 5 Ps of storytelling is simply because research has shown that stories have the ability to release an hormone which is called oxytocin, linked to trust and empathy, which is very essential for building strong relationships. Research also has shown that people always buy based on emotion and use logic to justify the reason why they are buying. Then, therefore, the 5 Ps of storytelling, if used effectively and communicate effectively, can turn any listener into a buyer. Now, I think you might be wondering what are those 5 Ps, right? Let's dive into them. The first P is the P of problem. You see, every single good story starts with a problem. And also to sell, we have to identify the pain that our customers are facing. I have learned that my customers do not want a product. They just want a solution to the problem. You see, when I was selling at the shop at my mom's place, I was one day with my brother, and I had a customer of mine who came to buy. And I received a strong, big a slap in my back from my big brother, because I have let the customer leave simply because I didn't have the solution for his problem. My brother was frustrated because he knew that in this moment I could have sold anything to the customer. And the customer needed a product, and we needed money. Unfortunately, this is the mistake that many people also make in sales. You see, that experience teaches me something very important. Many people who do not truly understand the essence of selling make this mistake. Customers are also people with emotion, desires, and problem. And when we take the time to truly understand the problem they have, we can become successful. Interestingly, the person I let go that day became one of our most regular customers. Why? Because he found someone who truly understands his problem and can solve it. So when you're trying to sell anything to anyone, the first question you have to ask yourself is actually 3 questions. What is the problem am I trying to solve here? What are the challenges that they are facing? What is the underlying motivation behind them purchasing my product? Once you are able to understand that and can communicate effectively about that, you can sell anything to anyone using the right product. However, if you are in a very competitive market, then you need to know the next P, the P of product. You see, there was a guy called Tim, and Tim was working in a factory. And one day he was going home with a wheelbarrow, and inside the wheelbarrow there was a black box. So Tim that day arrived next to the security officer, and the security officer asked him one question: what is inside the box? Tim answered, "It is a box, sir." He said, "Of course I know." I said, "What is inside the box?" And Tim answered, "It is oil left over after the maintenance every single evening. And I need some at home, so I'm just taking it with me at home." The security officer said, "Open it." Tim opened the box. Surprise, surprise, it was oil. So he let Tim leave that day. The next day again, the same thing happened. Tim arrived again with the wheelbarrow, the box, he opened it, and one more time, it was oil inside. That went on for at least 4 weeks. Till one day, the same security officer stopped again Tim and said, "I don't know, but I have the feeling deep down inside me that you are stealing something. I just don't know. But tell me what you are stealing, and I promise I'm not going to report it to anyone." Tim, after thinking for a while, said, "I'm going to tell you. You see, I come here every single day with nothing in my hand, and I go back home every single day with oil in a wheelbarrow. I am not stealing the oil. I am stealing the wheelbarrow." For weeks, Tim has been stealing the wheelbarrow. For weeks, the security officer will only focus on one thing: the box inside the wheelbarrow. You see, dear friend, that is exactly the same mistake that we make most often as well in sales. We focus too much on the product details and specification, that we forgot one thing: the big picture, the value. How is the product going to transform the life of a customer? So when you are trying to sell any product to anybody, the question you ask is to know, what is the transformation am I actually bringing in my customer life? Once you have the problem, the solution, how is that solution going to change the life, the end result, the big picture, the value? That's what you need to communicate about it. If you are able to do this successfully, you can sell anything to anybody. However, if you are in a very, very competitive market, you need to know the next P, the P of people. You see, when I was selling at my mom's place, I always believed that the reason why I was able to sell my entire basket and empty it before going home was simply because I was an amazing seller, an amazing transaction maker. But there was something actually different. There was something actually deeper. You see, I had a regular and loyal customer of mine called Sally. And Sally would always buy her shampoo from me every single time. And one day, she came into buying the shampoo, but I didn't have it in the shop. So I tell Sally, you know what? I don't have it. So I am going to let you go to the next customer. And I'll make sure to have it the next time before you arrive. And she said, no, I'm going to wait till you bring it for me. And she did that repeatedly. So one day I was really surprised and I said, okay, Sally, please tell me, why are you actually always waiting for me to bring it? You can just have it in the next shop. Why not? And then she said something that actually shocked me. She said something that hurt me deeply inside me. She said, because you are my friend, and I want to buy from you. You see, the reason why I believe I was selling all my goods was simply because I was just amazing. But for my customers, it was something different. It was about the relationship that we have been able to build over time. And most often also we make the same mistake. We believe that what is important to us is also important to our customers, what I call the myopia of sales. So now the question that you and I need to know while trying to sell anything to our customers is to know how can we build a relationship with those people. And for that, there is a philosopher called Aristotle who created a framework which is used by all the public speakers around the world and most often also in sales. It's ethos, logos, and pathos. First, you have to learn to build trust with people. Trust is the foundation of any sales. Secondly, you have to know how to arouse their emotion while discussing with them. We buy always based on emotion. And then thirdly, use logic and data, fact and data for them to truly understand why they are making this and make informed decision. If you are able to do this, I guarantee you can sell anything to anybody. However, if you are in a very, very, very competitive market, you need to know the next P again, the P of price. You see, one day I was coming from a village where I used to go and sell, and that day I couldn't sell all the things I had with me. So I went home very tired and said, Mom, you know what? The customers were complaining. The price is too high. Maybe we have to decrease the price so that we can sell more, what we call most often the penetration strategy. My mom looked at me and said, Konate, you have a lot to learn, don't you? And she went on that day teaching me one of the most amazing sales lessons I have ever learned. There were a bottle of water on the table. And she took the bottle of water, and she said, Konate, look at this. You see, in the supermarket outside, you can have this one at €1. In the gym, you can have this at €2. In the movie theater, it can cost you €3. But in a luxury hotel, you can have it at €7. But now, Konate, tell me, what do you think these water have in common? Mom, this is all water anyway. Exactly, that is the point, my boy. This is all water. But now tell me, if the same product can cost different prices in different locations, what is the learning lesson for you, my boy?